Why are Canadians becoming poorer while our national GDP is growing? Something doesn't make sense. Have you ever felt like you're working harder but getting nowhere? Many Canadians are grappling with financial strain even as our economy expands. Today I'm going to unravel this paradox and share actionable strategies to help you secure your financial future. My name is Paul DeBruzzo. I am a real estate investor and land developer based here in Southern Ontario. I lead the expert investor team where we help Canadians build wealth through investment properties. We do mentoring, we do coaching, we help people get to where they want to go. My team and I have been working with investors since 2010. I'm going to explain why Canadians are becoming poorer, even though GDP is on the rise in Canada. And more importantly, what you can do to protect and grow your wealth in these uncertain times. If you like this kind of economic analysis and you want to dive deeper, subscribe to my newsletter. I talk about this in greater detail, and subscribe to this channel. Please share it with a friend if you find value also. We dive deeper into economic data in Canada on a weekly basis. So why is Canada's GDP growing, yet Canadians are still struggling to maintain their wealth and monthly balance sheet? It seems like yesterday where properties were cash flowing nicely, and all of a sudden in a few short months, a lot of our cash flow dried up because of rising interest rates. There's more pressure on our mortgage at home. Prices in the grocery store are rising. Prices everywhere are rising while income and cash flow is shrinking. It doesn't make any sense. If we're all feeling like the purse strings are getting tighter, why is GDP growing across Canada? This is what we want to solve. What role has government spending played in Canada's GDP growth since 2023? And why is this concerning for individual Canadians? How has the carbon tax increase affected your monthly bottom line? Is that making things cheaper? Is it making things more expensive? For most middle-class Canadians, it's making things more expensive, and it's playing into the GDP numbers. How has the drop in residential real estate and residential investment real estate impacted the economy and the real estate market? How has the drop in the residential market and residential investment market impacted the economy and real estate market as a whole? Well, to give you an example, many of my investors had invested into pre-construction projects in the early 2020s, 2021, essentially betting that the price would go up into the future. And we know what happened since then. But in some coaching and mentoring calls in the last 18 to 24 months, many people were confused about whether to hold these properties for long-term and close, or assign them and at least get their money back, or take a small profit if they could. In most occasions, our coaching advised them to take the assignment, even if they only got their money back, or take a small profit if they could now and not wait. And thankfully, they did take that advice, and otherwise they would have had to close on the property, and the appraisals would have came in lower than they actually paid 2, 3, and 4 years ago, which would have burned a serious hole in their pocket. So there is effects streaming through the real estate market. Why does the decline in GDP per capita matter, and what does it mean for Canadian standards of living? Well, essentially, people have less disposable income. If you don't fully understand what GDP per capita means, GDP stands for gross domestic product. That's the total income the country can produce as a whole. And per capita means per person. Even though the GDP as a whole is growing, the GDP per person is getting less and less. The biggest reason, and we're going to touch on it soon, is because of all the immigration we have. So that big pie that Canada produces is being given to more and more people, which means each person is getting less and less of a slice of pie, which translates to less disposable income on a month-to-month basis. Less cash flow, less money for vacations, less money to enjoy life as we know it, and more money going towards debt and expenses. How does Canada's rapid population growth affect the average Canadian's financial outlook? Well, it's simple. Back to the pie example. If the population of Canada is expanding faster than the pie is growing, then essentially each and every one of us, you, me, your neighbor, your mom, dad, brother, sister, everyone, even new people into the country, are getting less and less of a slice of pie. And that means we're spending less, we're diverting more disposable income towards debt, towards expenses, and essentially we're saving more. We're becoming less consumer driven and more debt and savings driven because we have tighter purse strings. And that affects the real estate market because less people want to move. If less people want to move, there's less vacancies. If there's less vacancies, there's less sales. And as we know from the data, real estate income anything tied towards real estate and income has declined for several quarters in a row. What government strategies have been used to sustain GDP growth in Canada, and why aren't they helping individual Canadians? Well, essentially, the government has been expanding government-sponsored programs and government hiring in order to expand the GDP growth, but it's not working. It's not working because Canada is still a capitalist country, and we need the private sector to thrive in order for everyone to experience growth. We need capitalism to be capitalism. Too much government spending trying to prop people up leads to other ideological systems which are not great, which I'm not going to get into here because it's not that type of video, but we don't want to go down that road at all. How are rising housing costs limiting Canadians' disposable income, and what are the broader impacts? Well, the reality is that our housing costs, the base of it, is tied to interest rates. And we all know what happened, at the end of 2021 up until 2023, essentially interest rates tripled. For most people, we all carry, at least most of us carry a mortgage on our personal home, meaning our disposable income shrunk because so much of our income is going toward interest costs and maintaining our household. That's about to change. We can see, as of the timing of this video, interest rates are starting to decrease and the pressure is on to keep them decreasing. But the effects will not be instant. Canadians still feel like a child who just got spanked in a corner. They're hiding, right? No one's going to come out and start spending money like they were in 2019, 2020, and 2021 immediately just because interest rates dropped a quarter point. It's going to take some time to recover and people to feel confident again in spending money back the way they were used to. Now, I know I just beat you down with some difficult news and difficult economic statistics that, to be honest, we can't hide from anymore. So what's the solution? And I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but what has sustained me are the investments that I made before and during this time of financial crisis that we've experienced here in the last couple of years. You see, owning real estate and other high quality assets have maintained my purchasing power while the currency is being deflated and it's worth less and less with inflation. While costs feel like they're going up, most of my assets are maintaining their value and actually going up also, balancing that out. And that is the beauty of owning high quality hard assets like real estate. Real estate is extra special because not only can it maintain value and continue to increase, of course, and maintain your purchasing power, but if you do it right, it also spits off something called monthly cash flow. And in a time where income and disposable income is drying up, cash flow is a unicorn we'd all like to have. If you want to learn how to navigate the complexity of this market, we are doing this on a daily basis, not only for ourselves, but for the clients that we work with. We meet regularly, we meet to mentor, we meet to coach, we meet to help. I want to help you. My business is tied to you getting better results. So if you want to meet with me, if you want to talk with me, I want to talk with you and I want to help you live a better financial life. Subscribe to my newsletter if you want to learn more about me. Read my book if you want a fire hose dose of what I do, what I am, and how I can help you. Or if you want to get straight to the point, just book a call in the description below. I've shared with you some of my strategies for maintaining my purchasing power through this time. Now, what are other Canadians doing to survive through these tumultuous times? Some Canadians are opting for more shared housing. In fact, shared housing in Canada is growing tremendously. It's one of the biggest sectors that is growing. That means multiple families sharing the same house, or more people who are using roommates to manage the cost of a single apartment or a single house. That's true in places like downtown Toronto and other parts of Canada where prices are very high. You are seeing multiple people and families come together to share houses and, more importantly, share expenses. I don't advise you go and share houses with the family next door, or call up your brother or sister and buy a house together to live in. There are other more sophisticated ways to use shared housing to continue to have private space and invest in the profitable Canadian market. And one of the ways you can do that is by a simple duplex or triplex. Let's say that you're looking at your first ever property or your first ever investment. Instead of buying a condo or a single family home to rent out, why not get a duplex, an up and down duplex, a side-by-side duplex, a triplex, 1, 2, 3 units. Something that's small with multiple units is gonna give you the best of all worlds, because you could live in one unit, 2, 3 bedroom unit, have a little backyard, a couple of parking spots, and have a completely separate unit that's not shared on your property, essentially cutting your expenses in half, maybe 60%. Maybe you save 70, 80% of your expenses by renting another unit on your property. Maybe it's a triplex and you can get all your money back. I've seen these situations come to play. I'm not just making it up. In fact, when I moved out of my house for the first time, I moved into a duplex. And it cost me something like $338 a month to live, because I was able to rent out another unit beside me and still have enough space for myself and my wife, and even my first child and our dog to live comfortably, happily, and privately. So it's a powerful strategy. And when I left that house, guess what I did? I kept it. I rented the unit I was in, and it became a very profitable investment property for me. So it's a strategy that, if done right, can work very well for Canadians across the country. Friends, if this resonates with you, please leave a comment below and share how these economic changes are affecting your life. I want to know. I'll respond to you directly, I promise. Let's start a conversation about what we can do to turn this around. If you're serious about protecting your wealth, I encourage you to download a free copy of my playbook. It's linked in the description below. In it, I outline proven strategies for building passive income and growing your portfolio in any type of market, up, down, or sideways. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with a friend who could benefit from these insights. If you have thoughts on the topic, leave a comment. I read every single one right before bed. And don't forget my free playbook below. Download it. I promise you're gonna love it. If you wanna see a video about how the numbers work on a duplex type property here in Canada that you could live in and rent out or keep for your first investment property, check it out below.